All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first Builders Call for the month of April. This is Casey Council Jiha. I think I know everyone on the call so far. However, for those of you that may be joining for the first time, we're going to be jumping in and hearing this on the recording. I want to set some quick context for what this call is, why we do it, when it happens, and how you can maximize the value for yourself. So this call is done the first and the third Tuesday of every month, or excuse me, first and third weeks of every month on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific. And the purpose of this call is really to be able to come together, anybody that's focused on building, growing, scaling an organization, skilling up as far as your skills around attraction and recruiting, being able to really come into a larger conversation that's collaborative and be supported, as well as hear from people just like you, just like me, that are out there building and growing what's working for them and be able to create a mastermind of sorts. So as always, we want to make sure that you are able to create value for yourself during the time on today's call. And what we found that works really well is if you come with an intention to the conversation of what you'd like to walk away with and put that in the group chat, we'll be able to wind it into and weave it into the conversation today to be able to pull out whatever those points are for you. So I always say, no asking, no getty, that famous Mark Twain quote that says, I can help anybody get what it is that they want. I just can't find anybody who knows what they want. And so when you come in clear, or come in looking for something, it is triggering your mind to be in a state of growth and possibility, which will create something new and different from what you've created already up till this point today. So we welcome the interaction, we welcome the questions, and any agenda items that you want to make sure that we cover during our time together today. Again, go ahead and please put them in the chat below. We have a great interview that we'll be doing today. However, before we do that, we want to familiarize you with some new resources and tools that are just launching on the Empire Builders Pro site, and ones that you've not seen before. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to be able to do that and walk you through what those are to familiarize you with them. So if you go to empirebuilders.pro, the homepage, which is where we're at right now, there's been some updates and revisions. And what we found and discovered is that there was a lot of people that are out having conversations about EXP, and even people that are seasoned leaders in the organization. I'll ask the question, oh, have they watched the model explained? Yeah, they've watched the model explained, or I'm pretty sure they've watched the model explained. And then I'm in a conversation on a three-way call with them and, tell me what was most interesting to you about the model explained. And they're like, what's that? Or, oh yeah, I started it, but I didn't finish it. And so there is, we're now relying on conversations and assuming that people are assimilating information to really have a clear picture of what's available to them and what we offer. And so, of course, we want to reinforce utilizing the tools, which would be an official exposure to get people information and know that they've had the opportunity to go through that to really be part of the due diligence process. However, we also found that in those conversation and third-party validation calls where maybe there's some gaps or there's some, people aren't getting it, that having something visual is really key. And those visual cues now are what we've built into empirebuilders.pro so that you have a place to go to have a simple conversation that's visual. And under attraction and recruiting, we've added this section called Why Join Us. And the Why Join Us piece of it goes in specifically to just the high level bullet points of the value of the platform of EXP. So you don't need to remember costs and fees and how this happens and how that happens. You're now able to, on a Zoom call, just go share your screen and briefly and quickly and succinctly make it very clear on the value for someone as far as the company is concerned. Now, there's another piece that we've added in here, and sometimes you have people that want to dig deeper. For me personally, on a third-party validation call, I would not go a whole lot deeper. I would allow them to poke around in the EXP FAQs, where they can drill down on a bunch of specifics about how the splits work, the transaction fees, what those breakdowns are and what that looks like, how revenue share works, whether they're a single agent that they're just going to attract personally to the company based on their influence, or if they're going to be also working on growing and building and scaling an organization, how that works, and a simple way to really walk people through that conversation visually. So again, this is on the FAQs piece, as well as, well, there's different ways to earn stock at stock awards. What does that look like? And all of that broken down and detailed there as well. So again, that is under the FAQ section here for why join us and attraction and recruiting. However, if we go back to the why join us page and we scroll down just a little bit further, what you'll see here is a why join us at Empire Builders Pro. Empire Builders Pro is the name of the organization. And the vision behind that is that everybody that's part of this organization is a professional in the real estate sales industry and that is becoming or looking to scale up as a professional in this area of attraction and recruiting. And so a lot of people don't like change. They want to know what is what am I leaving behind? What am I getting? There's always this conversation going on in someone's mind. And so as a community, the resources that are available to the community that we specifically have designed within Empire Builders Pro is really these four phases rather of someone joining the organization and joining outside of joining the company, what happens when they join the organization and what's available to them. And then where are they going to receive support for production and growth, as well as attraction and recruiting. And so we have this now built in as a resource for all of you to be able to use. Would love for anyone that has questions on this to come off mute and ask any questions that you might have before we move into our interview for this morning. Was that clear, that concise? Okay. I want to highlight one other thing then. Under resources, we have added something as well. And this will be looking differently here by the end of the week. However, on the live training schedule, you can now access all the recordings. So if you missed a free Friday coaching call or you missed a Builders Best Practices call, you want to go watch the interview from today, you can go under resources, click on access all recordings. And by the end of this week, you will see that this page also has the live link to be able to join the call straight from there. So no need to text Selena or me, hey, what's the link for the call? Or how do I get into the call? You can go right to the resources page and it's there. In addition, that's not what I wanted to click on. In addition, the access full calendars here that has live links as well, that when you go straight to that calendar, here we are today on the Builders Best Practices call, you can find that link right there and click in. And these are the ways that you access the calls. All right, so going once, going twice, going three times on any questions about the new resources that are available through that site. Yes, Joseph, I'm happy to share on your Monday mastermind call and walk people through that.
Casey, just a quick question. Can you just real quick show where on the links that you clicked on to access that? Not the schedule, but the previous one.
Yeah, so that is www.empirebuilders.pro. I'll have Selena put it in the chat group. And then you click on attraction and recruiting, and it's why join us for those resources. And then the frequently asked questions are detailed out from there.
Perfect. Thank you.
You are welcome. All right, let's get down to the fun stuff. One of the things that I love is learning about people, and I say everybody's got a unique fingerprint that's you, right? There's only one Vanessa, there's only one Felix, there's only one Tom, there's nobody else that's exactly like you. And so what that means is that you are going to be effective with certain people and you're not going to be effective with others, because there's going to be people that resonate with you and there's going to be people that don't resonate with you. And that's amazing. Why is that amazing? Some people, for people that are high eyes on the DISC assessment and are like, oh, but I want everybody to like me. Well, I don't know. Do you actually really? And so when I think about, if I look at myself and go, okay, what is one of the things that I go head into is change and transformation and breakdown and breakthrough. And a lot of people that are very committed to staying stuck in their life will find that they are very uncomfortable around me and my energy, because I'm not going to listen to the stories. And I'm not going to for sure listen to the stories more than once, and always going to be about getting into solution and how do we grow and move and change. Now, I recognize that the majority of people are probably not attracted to that energy. However, I don't want the majority of people surrounded by me. I want the people surrounded by me that are who I'm about, what I'm about, where I'm going, and that are like-minded so that we can align and grow together. So when you think about, and maybe whatever your fingerprint is that's unique to you has the traits and characteristics that are going to make you wildly effective and wildly influential with people when you use your influence. And so when we talk about this fingerprint, it is unique to each individual. And what that means is that who you are, your voice, your leadership, your influence is something that's needed, because it's only going to be able to reach and impact the people that will connect with you, that won't connect with me, that won't connect with someone else per se. And so really, as we take ownership of the fact that, wow, every single one of us is a leader, and take responsibility then for that fact of, okay, if I'm a leader, that means I've got people following me. More importantly, now where am I going? And we start to ask these questions, and am I being intentional on where I'm going? Or am I, kind of haphazard about where I'm going? Or sometimes am I clear and I step into where I'm going, and otherwise I back off and I'm in the background and, hoping nobody's following or watching where I'm going. There's this whole spectrum of where we can live. So what I'm really excited about today is to be able to interview and have someone with us live that is very proactive in her mindset, very proactive in her vision, very much understands that it is about empowering who she is as a person and as a leader, and then creating a space for other people to step into that as well. So Jazmine, I'm really thankful for your time, Jazmine Contreras, in being with us this morning. And what I'd love for you to do for people that may be meeting you for the first time is to share a little bit about your background. So I know you've been in real estate 5 years. We're going to jump into the real estate story and the builder story, because this context of this call is a builder's call. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about who you were before real estate and what brought you to the industry.
Whew, okay. So hi guys, my name is Jazmine Contreras, and hi Cindy. I started totally not in real estate. I was in the fashion industry. Before fashion, I was starting my singing career for a very young age. I started singing from 8 years old. Now I have a little album, but then I found fashion and I was like, I don't want to do singing. I want to do fashion. So I got my degree. I worked in different corporations, but then I started to feel that I wanted to create something bigger than myself. It was more so, you can call it God, intuition. At that time, I wasn't very faith-based. So it was just like this feeling. And I'm like, okay, like this clothes is cool and all. I get to work with like celebrities, but what am I really doing? Like, I'm not really doing anything major. And so my father was in real estate when I was a young girl, in mobile homes and flipping mobile homes. And so I guess I always kind of saw it, but I never really paid much interest in it. It wasn't until I started to really feel like a slave at my 9 to 5 that I was like, there's no way God created me to be this bubbly and this outgoing, to just be stuck in this building, And it wasn't until I just was tired of survival mode and just feeling like, living paycheck to paycheck or having a good salary, but then it's like, okay, but I want more, right? I want to build more than just money. I want to build a legacy. If I were to leave this earth today, I want to know that I left something behind. And then I started doing real estate. I actually got into loans, and my broker at the time, don't do this, guys, okay? It's not good. But at the time, he allowed me to be like a production partner with him. So I was like in real estate, but I didn't really have my license yet. So, I did that about 2 years. My first year, I closed 8 transactions by myself. 8 of those were listings as well. And so it was it just took a life of its own. I started to feel, like I was serving my community, and to see, I'm Mexican and my parents are immigrants. And so to be able to help a family that's here with an ITIN number and doesn't have social, and they think that they can't buy a home, and then you come and you help them buy a property and they're crying because they're like, we're not even from this country and I have a property in California. Like, what? So that moment was kind of like the mark. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just keep going. Right. And then Joseph, DM me, and someone actually had told me, hey, you should talk to this guy named Joseph. And so that's kind of how I got now into EXP, and my career has expanded a lot more now that I'm with this company. I mean, it's been amazing.
I love that. So there's a couple of things that you mentioned. Number one was you clearly are somebody that follows your heart and follows your passions. And
Yes.
as what happens for people at some point in their life and some point in their careers, they start asking different questions, right? So the questions that you started asking were outside of career and making money and more around fulfillment and legacy. And that happens for different times, different people in different times in their lives. And so what was it that you saw when you were looking at EXP that had you feel that it was a fit for you about where you wanted to go and into your career and into your future? What were those things that stood out to you?
The number one thing for me was the commission, right? When I started, it was very unfortunate, but I found out that my broker was paying me less than the men. So when I found that out, I was like, what? I'm bringing all this business. It's my first year. So I absolutely knew EXP was already starting you off at 80. So that was already amazing. Two, the fact that I can become part owner of the company, right? I don't feel like I'm like an employee, right? And so with Keller Williams, and no shade, I'm not throwing any shade because all brokerages have their greatness in their own way. You know, there's a cap that is just outrageous, right? And so even you coming from a corporate world too, if you're making around 60,000-70,000 a year, you come to a brokerage that says you need to make them 50 to 70,000 or 60,000, you're just like, wait, I'm just another employee. So to come with EXP and to know I can cap at 16,000, I get 80% commission, I'm able to become part owner of this company as well. So I'm also gaining wealth that's going to be able to help me retire, or if I want to say I'm going to go buy a house in Puerto Rico, I could just take it out of my stocks, right? Like so many different things that I could do in the future. But one of the things, Casey, if I'm being honest with you, was a global opportunity. That was where my heart was like, the whole world is my playground. God told me that. And he told me that. And when I met Joseph, it was so creepy. Like the way everything happened, it was actually through a dream. And I woke up, it was just crazy, guys.
Wait. Joseph was in your dreams?
So weird, right? I didn't even know
back on camera. I want to see your face.
I didn't even know. I know. Joseph, where you at? So I didn't even know the guy, but there was this couple that were in lending. They're like, hey, have you heard of this guy named Joseph? And I'm like, Joseph? Like, no. This was before, okay? I had the dream. I woke up and something said, as soon as I woke up, I heard Joseph in my ear. And I felt God's presence. And I'm like, Joseph? I only know one Joseph. That's my little brother's best friend. Like, that's definitely not it, And then the next day I get this person say, hey, have you heard of Joseph Trujillo? And I'm like, no. And I was like freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, I just had that like epiphany when I woke up. Like, why am I getting the same? And then little do I know that someone mentioned me to Joseph. And so when we finally met up, I told him the story and we talked about it. And he's like, that's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, it's so crazy. So, but he has been someone that I honestly at first was very skeptical about EXP because it sounds so good to be true. So when, I see this guy, military guy, tell me all these things, I'm like, all right, he's just trying to recruit me, like whatever, And then I started to see his, his stories, his Instagram. I see, because I'm a big leaders create leaders, right? So if you call yourself a leader, I want to see what leaders you're creating. And so I looked at the people around him and I'm like, wow, like, okay, like they're solid. Like, you know what, Jazz, what's the worst that can happen? You do 3 months with this company, you don't like it, you go somewhere else. So I said, I'm just going to take a chance. And almost 3 years, guys, down the line. And I'm here with an amazing team. But anyways, let me not keep going on. Go ahead, Casey.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go reel back to what you said was what you saw that had you make the initial transition. And this is what I think is really important. for everybody that's listening on the call right now today, if you've been with EXP for a period of time and you're receiving the benefits that come from building and growing an organization, and you've got some leverage in your business and your life, and you have income outside of your day-to-day real estate transactions, it's now real for you, and it's something that you can be very excited about. But that is not real for an agent that is not with our company. I'm going to say that again. It is not real for an agent that is not with our company. So if you listen to what Jazz said about what she initially saw and why she made the decision to transition here, it was being able to be paid more for the work that she was doing, keep more money in her pocket, essentially. These were the right now things, the connect the dots as to why. And then after those pieces were in place and the boxes were checked, then it was the bigger opportunity, the opportunity to create legacy, the opportunity to build, to build something bigger. So this is so important, because a lot of times we make it about ourselves and what we're excited about, and we want to paint that picture into reality for someone that's not even looking that direction. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's exciting, because we know it doesn't exist where they're at, and we know they're not experiencing it based on where they're at, and we know it's possible for people. But one of the really important things in using our influence to attract and recruit is to meet people where they're at, and then stay that one step or two steps ahead of them, so that it creates a space for them to walk into. And then as they walk into that space, now they can see more of that bigger possibility and that bigger future, perhaps. But it's always starting with meeting people where they're at to create some movement. Otherwise, if that gap between where someone's at and where they're moving towards is too big, they'll freeze and they don't do anything. And then that's where the energy of the conversation gets kind of funky, because now we're perhaps wanting to talk more or be more enthusiastic or share more and attempt to put the pieces together to have them see something that they're not ready to see, because they haven't passed the preliminary steps yet of how's this going to help me right now today. So I think that's a really important piece of your story, Jazz. Now, the second piece is how you've chosen to brand yourself, which we're going to jump into next. And a global team builder is how you've chosen to brand yourself. Now, I know there's a lot of people that come into our company that maybe have had experiences with other companies where they're working in a certain market. And it's like, okay, well, I know the people in this market, and so where I'm going to work is in this market, and I get that there's a larger opportunity with EXP, but I'm in this market, and so I'm going to focus on who I know in this market. And that can be actually really short-sighted in sorts, because you could have relationships in other markets that are ready to go right now today. And the only reason they're not is because they haven't heard from you to put the pieces together and show them, a different possibility. And so one of the mindsets is not around, it's like, you got to get out of the mindset of I'm growing my area. You're not growing your area, you're growing people, and people exist anywhere. So you definitely have this mindset of being a global leader, Jazz. Talk about some of the places where you have partners within EXP in your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started in Mexico. Then that Mexico agent brought her agent, and that agent was resident in Mexico and Spain. So we opened in Spain. We're also in Atlanta, California. Then we also have one of my agents, Melanie. She brought her college friend from Dubai. So we're getting him set up already there. He already has his contract. We are in Dominican Republic, right? We're in Massachusetts. We're in New Hampshire. Where else? I'm like, I know I'm missing one, Joseph. But
where do you live? Where do you live?
I live here in Orange County. I live in Tustin, California.
Okay, so you're in California, and now
New Mexico too.
Okay, so you're back and forth between New Mexico and California, and yet you have agents in these other places, right? So really zeroing in on the mindset of, in your mind, you have positioned yourself, and you're positioning yourself in the marketplace as a global team leader. And so talk about, when you think about yourself in that way, for people that are on the call that may be like, oh, well, you know, I'm kind of like tapped out of my market, or I don't know anyone else in my market, or how do I get into a different market, or how do I expand past my own town or my own area? And with that, people can get in the mistake of doing something the way they've done it before, right? Which in a traditional real estate setting, oh, well, I need to have this set of things, and I need to be able to see these people with my eyeballs and physically touch them, you know, so to speak, because we're sitting across the table from each other. And in order to make this thing work, that's how this works. And clearly based on results, that would be a limited way to view this. It's a way that it works, and there's a much more expansive way to look at it. So talk about the mindset that you have and how you branded yourself that way, how you've positioned yourself that way, how you're really working within the networks of relationships that make it irrelevant locationally where that person or where that agent is.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, it actually wasn't intentional. I was having a hard time at the time focusing here. Even Joseph was like, Jazz, you need to focus here in California. Like, we need to focus on building you here. And I'm like, yeah, Joe, you're so right. Like, I need to stop with this global thing. Like, but God was just like, so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do both. I'm just gonna do both, right? And so it all started really with seeing how frustrated my friends were in their finances, seeing that my friend lived in Mexico and she was living in uncomfortability with just the way she was. And I was like, girl, you know what? Let me show you this opportunity. I think this would be amazing for you and your family. Showed it to her. She's like, you know what, Jazmine, I'm going to try it out. And just really, for me, what I feel, I guess I could say where my mindset is that if you focus on helping another individual, you're going to reap what you sow, right? So much so that it's like I touch my family first. I thought about my family, New Mexico. That's also a family member, right? It's where I'm getting my brother-in-law. He's getting his license prepped, right? Atlanta, everything happened from, again, just sharing the opportunity, not thinking on how I was going to win, like, how is this going to benefit me, right? Because sometimes we always come from that place of like, what am I going to get in return? How is this going to benefit just myself, right? So when you have that mindset of, I'm going to add value to those lives around me, whether they're here in California, whether they're in Atlanta, whether in New Mexico, maybe they're in Texas, right? I go to the airports, I'm talking to everybody. I go get a taco. I'm like, hey, like, you know, they're like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm from LA. Like, what are you doing here? Oh, I do global real estate. Global real estate? What is that? And so you start telling people and they're like, oh my God, can I have your business cards? Like, I'd like to connect with you later. I mean, I literally just went thrifting in Costa Mesa, and the owner and I started chatting it up. She asked me what I do, tell her I do global real estate. Now she's talking to me about possibly buying something out in Mexico because they want a vacation home. So it's like as simple as just share the opportunity without being afraid. Sometimes, you know, I feel that we get afraid of like, oh, what if I don't know the answer? I don't know what am I going to say? You can come to Casey, myself, Joseph, any of these, you know, top builders, and would be more than happy to help. I think more so, like you said, Casey, it's your mindset. It's, you know, not getting stuck. And I'll be honest with you guys, if I'm being very transparent with you, which you know, Joseph knows I don't really know how to not be. You know, growing up, I was very, not purposely silenced, but, you know, my parents in the Hispanic culture, you're very much like, just shut up and do what you're told. Like, you know, don't. And so me being just this high energy person and now being an adult and being able to say, oh my gosh, like the world is my playground, and really taking that statement into your everyday affirmations and understanding that, at least, and I'm not going to take you guys to church, but you need to multiply what's given to you, right? That's what I live by. It's, if God gave me this life, then I need to touch as many lives as I can to try to help them multiply, whether it's through finances, whether it's through mindset, whether it's through faith, whatever it is, but always coming from a place of service, right? And I feel that, again, in this industry, sometimes you lose that because you're always thinking about me, not so much of how can I contribute to this huge vision of global real estate? How can I go to visit my family in Dominican Republic that, you know, works so hard, and I could say, hey, you know, I actually am super connected with the director here. Let's do a meeting. Let's see how we can help you start part-time, right? You don't need a license in Mexico or Dominican. right? So it's like, these are some places you could start right now. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
I love that. So what I want to kind of back up on and key into is the mindset that you talked about. And one of the things that you've done brilliantly is you have something that is so simple that it is what I call a pattern interrupt, and it creates curiosity. And it's when someone asks you what you do, you say global real estate. So I just want everybody that's on the call to think about that. Like, how would, when someone asks you what you do, I'm a real estate agent. Where? Oh, in the San Francisco Bay Area or in Orange County. Versus when someone asks you what you do, what do you do? Oh, global real estate. And the simplicity and the power of that is now you've become a resource for that person, regardless of where they live in the world.
Yeah.
And helping them. And you're now also positioning a multifaceted, layered conversation and setting it up energetically without even setting it up, right?
Yeah.
Just by how you are positioning yourself in the marketplace. And energetically, when you say it, like your energy, when you say what you do, is like you own it.
Yeah, because I'm so excited. Like, imagine you could say, I'm
this
a
is what I do.
global realtor. Like, I can help you anywhere you want. Where do you want to go?
Yes. So from that perspective, as we talk about the mindset of all of this, it is really, you mentioned something so important, and it's that mindset of service. So it's not a mindset based on a geographic location or, who do I know that they're there that I'm going to be able to plug them into to work with? Oh, I don't know anyone. Oh, well, I better not mention it to them. Or, oh, what is that going to mean for how I'm going to need to support them, and what's that going to look like? Of course, we have all of these resources through Empire Builders Pro to plug people into regardless of where they're at in the world. And that's one of the reasons why we built it like this. But those conversations can be ones that happen inside of our minds that cause us to hold back. And what I love about what you're saying is it's this invitation to, there's nothing to hold back about. It's really just to step into. And there's another piece that you mentioned that I think is really key. And a lot of times when we're looking at building, growing, scaling an organization, we can get into an and or mindset, right? So you're like, oh, I'm a global realtor, right? Joseph's like, and let's focus here where you know people and where you have, where you have relationships and where you have influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an and or. And so many times we can get into this limited thinking that's and or of like, oh, well, here's where I live. Here's where I know people. This is where I'm going to focus and grow and build. And then we don't look outside of that, right?
Yes.
And then sometimes we can get so excited by the bigger opportunity of the global opportunity that we could lose sight of the opportunities that we're tripping over every day when we're in our own local markets. So it's really this mindset of marrying the two. Yes. And recognizing like, yes, I am global, I am local, and those are locations as far as where I do business. However, who I am as a person, as an agent, is about helping to empower you in your business and your life. And what I love that you talked about is in a couple of the examples that you gave, people that aren't in real estate at all yet. However, that want something more in their lives, and having your ears open to really being about other people and how to be of service to them and how to help them, and opening a door of possibility using real estate as a vehicle to do that.
Yeah.
You've been, 2.5 years with EXP, just, you're having people that are joining your organization, obviously all over the place, which is exciting. And so, talk a little bit about what you've learned so far, that you would say if there was the top 3 things that you could share with people that are wanting to expand maybe out of their local market and build something that has, further reach, right? When I think about some of the inhibitions of local markets, right? If you're in an area that has hurricanes and a hurricane comes through and wipes out your city and there is no real estate to sell, what happens then, right? But if you're in multiple markets, multiple states, multiple countries, and you're not dependent on any one local market for your organization within EXP, if you're, if you're creating a life where it's not just extra income now, that's income that you're utilizing in your life from the organization that you've grown and built. What would you say would be the top 3 things that you could offer up for people today?
So if it's okay with you, before I answer that question, I just want to give everyone a tip on how to dominate both your direct market and global, because that was very hard for me to do. And when Joseph kind of was like, he's like a big brother to me, kind of puts me in my place when I need to be put. He's like, Jazz, like, I get it. You're super excited about the global opportunity, but you need to focus here, right? And so I'm like, okay, you know what? How am I going to do this? And so one of the biggest tips that I got from him was selecting a day where you just focus on that one thing. Like if you're going to do global real estate, you could do global real estate. Sorry, guys, I was getting a phone call. You could do global real estate, let's say on Wednesdays from, I don't know, 9 in the morning till 1 p.m. And then from 2 until 6, you're doing nothing but focusing on your actual city, right? So just blocking your days out is super key. Now, what would be my tips for expanding globally? And building a team, I would really like to give a tip on building a team, because I feel like we don't give enough tips for that.
So are you talking about a real estate sales team, or are you talking about your organization within EXP?
Overall, just being like a team leader and a team builder.
Okay.
I
So
would like to
create a distinction on that, because when we
Okay.
say team, we mean real estate sales team. When we say
Oh, I see.
organization, you're the team leader of your organization. So just so that because sometimes people
Clarity.
put on the listeners. Yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
team leader of your organization.
Yeah. So for tips as a team builder, someone that wants to build a team, okay, my tip for you is this. If you bring on an agent to your team and you give them directions and you give them specifications to do, and if they do not follow it, guys, after 3 times, either get them another mentor or allow them to do whatever it is that they would like to do with their business. But don't force or kind of feel like you have to continue to like push people, because when someone wants to drink the water, they're going to drink the water. They're going to swim towards you. And so one of the things that was hardest for me was letting go. And because I want everyone to be super producer on my team as an agent, right? And so not letting them go as in like leaving the company, but letting them go as in letting them figure it out on their own sometimes, right? Sometimes we have to learn by touching the stove when it's hot, and sometimes we learn by someone telling you don't touch it. And so one of my things was like, I was almost like mama bear, like, come on, like you can do it, you can do it. And so I was almost running myself crazy, right? I'm like, Joseph, he's like, Jazz. So like, it was just, it's amazing as a team builder to see the growth. But one thing I wish someone would tell me was, after that third push, that third attempt, try to give them someone maybe that they can relate to, that can move to their structure, or allow them to find themselves and then come back and say, hey, Jazz, you know what, I'm ready. Because I've had some agents do that where I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna let you do your thing. 2 months later, they come back and say, hey, I'm ready for you to give me my tips or the tips you were giving me, So don't drive yourself crazy, because you're losing out on agents that actually need the opportunity and they want it. Casey, would you like to say anything?
No, I'm just, yes, match energy for energy.
Yeah, so that'd be one.
Yeah.
Now, as far as on expanding yourself globally, I would say it's as easy as sending a workplace DM message to the director of that country or that state, that broker. Literally just me and Thompson out in South Africa, super cool. And like, obviously never met him in person, but we've talked so much through the workplace chat, right? Same with the director in Dominican Republic. I have a great relationship with her, always talking on the chat, reposting her stuff. Just start reposting whatever country you want to build. You want to start building in Peru, you want to start building in Dominican and Mexico, Dubai. We're very connected heavily out there, so I would be more than happy to help you connect out there. But guys, it really was as easy as me sending a message to Michael Valdez and asking him questions about, hey, I really want to open up this country. What can I do to get prepared? What can I do to help EXP access this country? talking to Joseph or talking to Leo Robles. Hey, Leo, how can I connect in Spain? You know, I have an agent that's it's all about collaboration, guys, not being afraid to open your mouth and speak up. And also, don't self-sabotage. Like, if you get this crazy idea to build in London or, you know, we're not in Costa Rica yet. I was gonna say Costa Rica, but Mexico or something crazy where you just have this idea like, I wanna build in Greece. Like, and you have family in Greece or you know people out in Greece, just hit them up and say, hey, I have an awesome opportunity. I actually really want to show you. I just want to see what you think about it. You know, not even really recruit them. You're just like, hey, look what I'm doing. What do you think about this? That's it. You know, and if they're like, nah, I don't like that, or I'm not interested. Oh, but you know what? My buddy, I go get beers with him every Friday and he's always talking about real estate. Maybe I'll tell him, right? Like if they don't want it, they know somebody that wants it. So my biggest tip for you is to start to plant those seeds with the directors in our EXP. When you go to the airport, that is not time for you to just chill in your layover seat and go get snacks and get coffee and ice cream. No, get your cards, go walk around and talk to people. The airport's filled with people from all over the world. Like, it's actually doing your job for you, you know?
Yeah. Love that. So you mentioned something that's really important and I think probably really underutilized by agents in EXP, and that's workplace chat. And I feel that this is a greatly underutilized resource based on when I hear people asking questions. I know that they're not using the connections to the relationships and the resources that we all have available to us. So you said you texted Michael Valdez and he texted you back. You're in communication with the person from corporate that is responsible for the market in the Dominican Republic, and you've got a lot of connections in Dubai. So does every single other person on this call and in EXP. It's just, once again, are you using the resources and tools that are right there available at your fingertips to be able to do that or not? And so if not, this could be a great time to engage. And who am I not engaging with? And based on what I'm committed to growing and building and where my business is or where my business is going to, who are the people that would be important for me to know and develop relationships with, and find those people and start to develop those relationships. If you think about it, in a company of 87,000 real estate agents, everybody at corporate is not going to know all of those agents. The people that are known are the people that make themselves known. And when you develop relationships on the corporate side with people that are there, people start to know who you are. And it's just like any other business. It's a business within a business. People that have relationships where you've developed trust and credibility and reputation, that is one that's powerful and influential and good. That's how things happen. It's who you know, not necessarily what you know. And so invitation for everybody that is, you know, we all have access to workplace chat, and literally anyone in the company at your fingertips through workplace chat. Are you utilizing that resource, and are you utilizing it at a high level? I love that. So I'm going to open it up for a couple of questions as we have a few minutes before the top of the hour here. Sherry had a question for you. Sherry, would you like to come off mute and ask?
So when you're using that dialogue, I'm a global agent. I think inevitably they're going to ask you, can you list a house? And I just use an example of Greece, or it doesn't matter where, somewhere else other than California.
I'm so sorry. It's a little hard to hear you, hon.
Okay, so I'm going to take it off as, oh, it has to be on speaker.
Okay, that's good.
Can you hear me now? I got rid of some background noise. So when you say you're a global agent, are you talking to buyers?
Yes.
Okay. So you're not talking to, so if that buyer had a property in somewhere else other than California, and they wanted to sell property, are you going to find an agent with EXP to list for them? Is that how you're going to approach that?
So there's two ways that I approach it. The first way, it's always directly, right? So if I don't have an agent at that moment in Greece, then I am rushing to connect with agents out in Greece and potentially recruit an agent before I connect them with my client. If my client wants to get service right away, I go straight to workplace, look up Greece agents. I do like research and make sure I pick one that looks pretty like legit and like they're hardworking. I do talk to them and I just refer it out basically. But all of you guys are global real estate agents, right? It's just us. Even I think you were saying something about properties. You know, you could actually put the properties you see out in Spain on your Instagram. I mean, you can literally cross promote because we're all within the same company. So, you know, taking advantage of that and understanding that, you know, that's very powerful. But yeah, I do resource out, but I first try to get them directly, you know, to my team.
So that is really great. I have not heard that expression used in this context at all until this call. And thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
That was wonderful. And feel blessed that I was here today.
Yes, and if you need anything, I'm here, Sherry.
So much. And you answered my question very well. And really now you changed. So much is coming to my mind right now.
Right? It's like everything just like, oh my gosh, all these ideas start to come.
Hey, Joseph.
Yeah.
Joseph's got his hand up.
There we go.
Oh.
Am I up?
Yeah.
What's up, family?
What's up?
Hey, so really quick, I wanted to just take a quick second I got some stuff to share about Jazz. I think, you know, in my experience working side by side with her, this woman has developed incredibly in her skill sets. And she didn't mention that, but, you know, when I first met her, you know, her skill sets were really, really raw. But her resilience really stood out to me. You know, she does not take no for an answer. So, you know, as we've kind of grown together, even at times when I didn't know the answer, right? And maybe there were a lot of times when I didn't even have the time to go seek the answer for her, or before I even tried to get the answer, she had already found it herself. So her resourcefulness goes above and beyond the average. And I think that's why she's finding a lot of success in her conversations, because she just doesn't stop, right? And she's adapted very well. So what I really love about her leadership skills is I've told her this from the beginning. I'm going to show you one time how to do it. And after that, you know, you got to go out there and hunt on your own. And she's taken that and she's applied it throughout her group and her organization. And I think that's what she was referencing when she had mentioned, you know, she'll show them a couple times, but after that, you know, people need to fish on their own in order for them to find the answers and the solutions. So then that way we have the time to continue pressing forward with our business. So I really love that about you, Jazz. And the other thing that I wanted to kind of just touch on really quick was what you had mentioned, Casey, about I think you referenced it as pattern interruption. It's something that I learned in the military. We called it OODA loop. And I gave some training on that one time at a venue, but Jazz is incredibly effective at that. And so that global team leader thing really, really throws people off. So I would say, you know, think about that in your conversations when you're having, you know, recruiting conversations. A lot of times I use words like, you know, like we ask, you know, have you seen the model? Have you, you know, what do you know about EXP? Whatever that conversation is like. And people always say, yes, I've seen it, or I've seen a little bit of it, or whatever that is. And then I reference the conversation to specific to that person. So I'll say something like, well, oh, so you've seen the luxury presentation for top producers? And then it kind of throws them off because it doesn't even exist, right? So have they seen the top producer presentation? Have they seen the luxury presentation? And then when I have that conversation with them, then we dial it in for, you know, what they're looking for and what fits their needs. So it throws them off a little bit. And I love that Jazz has been able to leverage that in her conversation pieces. So Jazz, you're killing it. You're doing everything you said you would do here. And the power of your intention for your business has been really clear, and I'm excited to see where you go with this, my friend.
Thank you so much, Joe. You've been amazing.
I love that. And one of the things that stood out about what you just shared, Joseph, was showing someone one time. And when we go back to Jazz, what you said about a leader's job is to, be a leader of leaders. One time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's your one time that I'm going to show you this. So pay attention, because this is the only time I'm going to show you this. And then it's up to you to go use it. Right. And it's in that way, like, think about what that says or what that demonstrates from a leadership perspective, is I'm not your hand holder. I'm not your babysitter. I'm not a wet, no, like, I'm your partner, and you are my peer as a leader. So like, step up and lead. I'm going to give you what you need, and then you go make it your own. And that matching energy for energy. So it's energizing to invest in people. If you did that with 20 people in a day, versus one person for the same duration of the 20 people in one day, the energy that is behind that is totally different, right? So if you have 20 people in a day that you go have that experience with, it's like, hey, here's your one shot. I'm going to show you this one time, and you do it 20 times, versus if you spent that same amount of time with one person, you're going to be drained, de-energized, not fun, like energy vampire, like not great. But you do that in a one-to-many, and now you're replicating leadership, right? And having people make it their own, and you're the person that's been the bridge to that for them. Great, go do it. And you're investing in people, not that, I always say, and you're matching energy for energy. It's not who wants your time and energy, it's who deserves it by what they're doing. Not just someone that needs a babysitter, right? So these are, things that you learn along the way, but when you start to do that, people will step up, because there's a place for them to step up into, because there's an expectation that they're going to step up. So I love, Joseph, what you shared about the progression, right? Of skills in the beginning, raw, and then through use and through practice, refining those skills, right? And that's when we look at mastery of anything. It's a mastery of the basics, to refine a basic set of skills over and over and over again, right? I'm talking about pattern interrupts. Joseph's talking about OOD, a different place that he learned that in a different context, yet skillfully applying that in the examples that he just gave, about how to engage and how to interact with people. So much incredible, content and things that we can learn and apply as we go. So to wrap up this call, I think we want to land with this. I know you're very much about empowering humans, Jazz, empowering yourself and creating a space to empower others. And so what is one thing that you would leave everyone with today, in that context, for people that are really looking to rise to the next level for themselves and their businesses and their lives?
Ooh, I got 3. Okay. Real quick. I know we don't got much time. 1,
go for it.
Stop doubting yourself. Just stop, right? Just because your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your family members have never been somewhere or have never done anything, that does not mean that you cannot do it. So stop self-sabotaging. 2, stop being in savior mode. I was in savior syndrome. I wanted to save everybody in the world. Even Joseph also told me a few things about this, right? Because sometimes we have such a big heart and you just want to help like everybody, but you have to focus on what you're building, because you're a collective, you're part of something bigger. It's not just you, like it's me, it's Casey, it's Rick, it's Joseph, it's Decatur, it's Will. We're all building this company. You're not alone, right? And so sometimes we have this savior mode where you think you're like the only person in the world that's trying to like fix this issue or the situation, and you're not. And once you realize that you're part of a bigger collective group, I promise you, you're gonna feel such a huge weight off your shoulders, because we're almost carrying all this weight. And my 3rd tip to empower you: stop comparing yourself to others, period. Like, go on Instagram, yes, that person is posting and their life looks beautiful. You don't know what their real life looks like. Focus on you, focus on your lane, and don't compare your growth to anybody else, because your growth is always going to be different than the person next to you, right? I'm never going to be like Casey, and Casey's never going to be like me, or I'm never going to be like Joseph. He's never going to, we're all beautiful, different. That's what makes us beautiful. And now to bring all of us together, we're like a big, beautiful masterpiece. So just keep moving in your lane and don't focus on what Susie or Karen is doing on the sides. Like, focus. That's all.
I love it. So for those of you that maybe have people in your organizations that you want to hear this call that weren't here today, you can go later today and go to empirebuilders.pro under the resources tab and under builders best practices. If you click access call recordings, what you'll see is that it takes you right into the YouTube channel that has the recordings of the calls that are posted that you can always go back to. So Jazz, I want to thank you so much for who you be,
Thank you.
who you are,
Thank you.
and your willingness to share and contribute. I'm so excited to continue to see your global vision come to fruition, and really all the lives that will be impacted as a result. Felix, I love what you said. You can't carry one, but you can lead thousands. True,
Yes,
true,
I
my
love
friend.
that.
Appreciate all of you sending great energy, amazing hugs and love, big squishy love out into our organization today, and everyone make it a great rest of your day.
Bye. Thank you.